Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I'm Christina. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to a Scentsy Team Call where the leaders teach us how to get momentum in Scentsy. This is a team call / a training from people that are at the top of the company and they want to teach their team how to better their business, because momentum pretty much means that your business is picking up, that you're recruiting a lot of people, that you're selling a good amount of product. And what do you do to get into momentum, to keep momentum, and to not lose momentum? But before we start with the call, I wanted to thank everybody who subscribed to the channel. Recently hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm really, really grateful for your support, your reviews, showing up here every week, giving me suggestions in the comment section, sharing potentially content with me that I can react to in the future. I really, really appreciate that. I've included more team calls and I've included more training calls, but also other types of videos into this channel to give a more roundabout idea about multi-level marketing companies and what I would deem an interesting mixture of content. So I hope that you do like this video as well. Let's not do a lot of talking. Let's listen to people doing a lot of talking in this Scentsy training call, Scentsy team call, how leaders build momentum. Or as Brian Underwood would say, momentum. I hope they're not saying that because that drives me nuts. Momentum. The word has a T in it. It's okay to pronounce the T. If it's not supposed to be silent, just say it. That really drove me nuts. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link the video up here where I spoke about Brian Underwood, the CEO and co-founder of Prove It. He says momentum, and it drives me nuts. Anywho, let's get into the team call.
All right, you guys. So we are doing our first kickoff leadership Zoom of the fall semester.
Fall semester.
It is fall semester. We in school. School is in session. We are kicking off with a training that I had Justin come up with. So I'm Chloe and this is Justin, and we're either, if you're rewatching this, we could be your upline superstar director or you need some help in your leadership. And so I'm so excited for y'all to be here.
That's a great start already. I could be somewhere in your upline, in the pyramid of your upline, or you could be somewhere in my downline. You might not know me, I might not know you, or you just really suck at your business and you need help. Great start.
We're going to kick it off. First was saying, if you are a new lead consultant in our community, welcome. We are so glad that you guys are here. I know some of you, have, jobs and newborn babies and all these obligations, school, so we're just really glad that you made this a priority tonight, and we're hopefully going to make it worth your time. Tonight, me and my husband are going to be talking about momentum after we share some, I think, really key elements of how to build it, how to get it going, how to conduct it, and how to sustain it. Then we're going to have a couple people that were just at our retreats share how this past week really revved up their momentum, and I'm really excited for y'all to hear from them. And so we are going to go ahead and get started. Would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and get going with it, and then you just kind of chime in whenever you
want. And if y'all have questions while Justin's talking, feel free to ask them in the chat. We'll answer them. We just really wanted to feed some foundational material that wasn't a recruiting tip or a sales tip. I think with leadership, there's a big disconnect in understanding foundations of what makes a strong leader and what strong leaders do and actions they have. And so we also came up with a new acronym I'm excited to share too.
You came up with that this morning.
Yes, I did at breakfast. I don't know how, y'all, because I was falling asleep while we were doing the budget. Your girl straight just fell asleep while we were doing the budget today. So that was fun.
On my shoulder.
On his shoulder. It was game over. But scoot up and...
Speaking of on people's shoulders, look at that cat on her shoulder. It's a naked kitty. Oh, it's so pretty.
I want a naked cat so bad.
You just told me you would never get another cat again.
I would get a naked cat.
Okay.
100%. I would get a naked cat. I literally want to...
Look at it just sit on her shoulder.
So sweet.
And look at her loving on her. Sorry. That's how my ADHD mind works.
I don't like cats, but I like naked cats. Okay.
I grew up with a lot of hairy animals at home. There were long-haired German Shepherd dogs, and I like the more fluffy, floofy, riggedy-raggedy ones that need protection and that needs to be saved from the shelter. So I'm the exact opposite. I actually prefer hairy animals that look a little scruffy and you need to take care of them and comb them and feed them, of course, and give them a better home. That's my take on this. Hairless cats do freak me out.
All right, so Justin, go ahead and start.
All right, yeah. So with tonight, one thing that I think is important as far as, when you think about leadership, and I say this a lot from a direct sales perspective, with your leadership personally for your personal business is how you're working your personal business. I mean, your sales, your customer service, your team, your front line, how you're working with those people. That's a direct reflection of your own leadership in your personal business.
And I want to say this too. Y'all are much further ahead than you think with leadership. This group, these foundations you guys have, so many people don't have this. So I also want to say that because I feel like a lot of leaders, before he gets into momentum, you feel like you just don't know. And I want to tell you guys something. Y'all know. The 4 that were just at our leadership retreat, they heard some of the things that these leaders didn't know. And all mine knew is, okay, we just got a coach, Chloe. We got a coach. Show me this, show me that. They knew what to come and get. So y'all are going to know what you need to come and get from me, your upline, or if it isn't us, or if it isn't your sponsor, from somebody, but you guys are more equipped than you know. So I did want to just say that because we can get really down on ourselves, but it's only because we're a very high producing leadership community, Anchored Senses, and you guys are. And so I just wanted to kind of preface it with that.
Yeah. And so the reason why I chose momentum, and the reason why I think momentum is important, because sometimes I don't even think people really know a true definition of the word, what momentum is. Some people get very physical about it, meaning it's a driving force this way. There's a bunch of different definitions of it. And I even just came up with my own definition. So I pretty much came up with a basic definition of what momentum is in reference to Scentsy and how you can create it. More importantly, how you can lose it, because I don't think people talk a lot about create energy or creating stuff, but you don't talk about how you can lose it so you can look for the red flags.
Motivation a lot, but we got to replace that with momentum, which is what we're hoping to teach you guys tonight.
So a definition of momentum is creating habits that propel you towards your goals in an increasing motion. So what I want to first talk about is how you create it. Then I'm going to talk about how you lose momentum, and then more importantly, how you sustain it. Because it happens. Momentum is something that has to be created. It's something that just doesn't happen accidentally. It's something that doesn't happen by luck. There are external factors that can throw gasoline on the fire, hit COVID and everybody ordering online and sales. But that's just stuff that's going to propel momentum and work that you've already done. And how do you sustain that momentum once you get it? So first off, how do you sustain it? Or I'm sorry, how do you create momentum? There's 3 things that I have found in everything that I've done in my past, every time we've been successful in something, every time we've stayed successful, and every time. And these 3 factors of what created that momentum. The first one is the vision. And you hear this a lot where you say vision statement, and a lot of people think that applies to like a corporate lingo. Like, what's the vision statement? If anybody works in a job or has ever held a job, you've heard of vision statements. This needs to be more personal for you in your Scentsy business. That's what this is. It's your personal business. This isn't anything else. This could be a vision for you personally and what you hope to achieve out of this business or what you want this business to do for you. And guess what? It's fluid. This vision is fluid. There has to be something concrete for you to get going. But once you hit it, you need to change the vision again. You can have a huge vision of, I want this to be something that's going to be, wealth producing for my family for generations to come, even that is very vague. I would start it off something very simple like we did. I just want to be able to make a $300 to $400 car payment. That's my vision, for me to be able to have a new car, because I've never had a new car and I want to be able to make that payment. And I'm going to use Scentsy as a vessel to do that. And this is how I'm going to get there. That's a personal vision.
I do like that we're getting some definitions here. That is what I always appreciate, because many times people on these calls, they just throw words around without giving a specific definition. And I think it is easier as somebody who has to follow this this inspirational speech. I think it is beneficial if you understand what the actual definition is. Momentum, according to him, is creating habits that propel you towards your goals in an increasing motion. So how do you create a more successful business that is also increasing in motion? And how do you create momentum? That's the first part that he's talking about, is to have a personal vision. We could have also just said goals, because that's another word for this. How do you create momentum? How do you create movements propelling towards a goal? Is to set goals and then work towards those goals. So vision, in my opinion, is exchangeable with goal.
Once you start building a team and once you become a leader, a vision for you that you can have for them is, okay, now I want to be able to help my team member promote to the next title. My frontline, one of my frontline promotes to the next title, because my vision for them is to believe in themselves, which takes me to point 2 that creates momentum. So the first thing that creates momentum is vision. No,
are we losing the T in momentum here as well? Please just say momentum.
One of the business mistakes I will say on vision 2 that leaders have is a lack of vision for their own Scentsy business. And I'll always ask Chloe this, because after she does coaching calls with you guys, we do kind of a separate follow-up where I'll sit down with her and ask how the call went, what she think went well. And one of the biggest things that I always ask is, do they even know why they're doing it? And that's something you always need to check yourself on, because sometimes you may have joined because somebody was pushing you so much to join, and you just joined to make them happy, and you really like the product, but you never even really knew why or what this business could do for you.
And you normally don't see what it can do until you see the launch party was successful.
Exactly.
You see you got certified, you see you hit lead star, superstar. So also know, like, the vision thing, like, don't be so hard on yourself if you've never set one, but vision, because it gives you direction, and it gives you clarity on what task you got to do to have that vision come to life.
So that's the first way you can create momentum, is you have to know what you're working towards. That's the easiest way to say. That's the easiest way I describe whenever I'm consulting with companies that are starting up, or somebody that's wanting to launch a product, or somebody that wants to launch a business, or anybody I'm talking to. What are you trying to do, and what are your hopes for this? That's basically how you build that vision statement. And I just think that's so important, because it has to be, what are your goals and what are you working toward? You have to have a vision in order to create momentum.
Yeah, set goals. We get it. How bad is it, though, that they have to address, you don't know what your goal is because maybe you were pressured into your Scentsy business, which is not your business. How bad is that? That somebody might have just harassed you until you said, yeah, I'm going to do this, or you like the products and somebody convinced you to join. How bad of a starting point is that? To join a multi-level marketing company without even wanting to do this business, but because somebody pressured you into joining, that is yikes. That is yet again setting yourself, but also the people that you recruit, up for failure. The Scentsy Huns are really, really big on recruiting their customers. I've also reacted to this in another video. I will link it up here. That's also from a Scentsy call. What is your business goal? What is your vision? And then most of the people that you recruited said, well, I just wanted the product. Those are no business goals. Those are just customers who want to be customers, who are told that it might be financially beneficial for them to join Scentsy because you will get the products for less, or you can sell the products and then use the percentage that you make of the products you sold towards the new product that you could buy yourself. That is really not a great idea, because those people will very likely not have a business goal in Scentsy. And I would also like to point out the shirt that the female lead in this call is wearing, the CEO shirt. Let me just be very clear. When you join Scentsy, you're not the CEO of anything. You're not the CEO of Scentsy. And you're also not running your own company. You're not the CEO of your own company. You're an independently contracted salesperson. There's nothing wrong with that, but when people try to embellish that, also by wearing a CEO shirt, that is just, it's ironic. You're not the CEO of your own company when you join Scentsy. And just because somebody wears a shirt like that also doesn't mean that they are what is written on the shirt. It is like an equivalent to wearing a Boss Babe shirt or a Boob Inspector shirt. Anywho, that shirt is not the most important thing of this call, but I find it funny. I find it ironic.
All right, number 2 is faith. This doesn't mean spiritual faith, even though we feel that that's very important. What I'm talking about with faith here is that you have to believe in what you do. You have to, the better way I used to say this, and I've said this in trainings before, when I worked at the bank, we had a bank account at every bank I worked at because I had to believe in the product, and I had to
it was awful.
I had to know how it worked. I had to know how it worked. If I was going to sell somebody a credit card, I had to have that credit card. If I was going to sell somebody a line or a loan or a line of credit or a savings account or something like that, I needed to know how the product worked. If I was going to sell somebody online banking, or if I was going to sell somebody a product or something that we had to
can I
offer.
pause you really quick?
Yeah.
So we talk about this a lot, right? On a working Zoom or on a team page about like, go get Scentsy Club, like, so you can sell it. You know, get the harvest scent so you can sample them and do these things. But we don't talk about it enough in you learning how to lead. So you making basic level that can relate to this, for you to be able to believe you can lead. You need to have your own steps on how you train those new team members. Then once they certify, and I talk to a lot of leaders about this, what do you do when they certify? Then you need to know, what do you do with them when they certify? Like, what does that look like? How do you, you can teach them how to get to lead because you got there, but what steps does that look like? How can it be duplicatable? Belief is instilled by you knowing what you're doing and you being able to replicate it really, really well. And once you aren't failing at it or aren't sucking at it, right, then the belief grows in that area. So what I really want to be able to do with y'all this semester in our leadership content is teach you guys what tools you need and how you can make it you, how you can go and create your own system, right? Typed up, written out, how you're going to lead that team member, and then what you do after they're certified so you can have that stuff in your toolbox and so you can feel confident in that.
Have faith, have belief. It doesn't have to be religious. At least that's what I appreciate, that it doesn't always have to be faith manipulation. But still, I do not have faith and I do not believe, pun intended, that these two will be able to lead a team call without interrupting each other every 2 minutes. That has happened now already multiple times. It makes it a little bit harder, honestly, to watch this. I don't think they can do it. I don't believe that.
For sure. And so that's why I think this faith is broken down into two parts. So first thing that creates momentum is the vision, why you're doing this, what you're doing it for, and what even is the purpose of the reason why you're doing this. The second is faith. You have to have faith in the company that you're selling for, faith in the product that you're working for, and faith in yourself that you can actually do this. So there's two things. You have to have faith in yourself. I think most importantly that, yes, you can do hard things. This is where I would say the motivation, but it's more than motivation comes in. This is something within yourself that you know that you can do this and you believe in yourself.
How many days do we wake up and feel motivated? How many days did you wake up?
Motivation is not something that's sustainable. And that's one thing that we want to talk about from a sustainability standpoint.
How many days as a leader you wake up and you're just feeling pumped? There is times like September 1st drops, but how many days majority do you wake up feeling motivated?
Yeah.
Not a lot.
So that's why the habits, and we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Oh, come on. These two really suck at leading a team call together. They're interrupting each other all the time. Do you know what good leaders do? They listen to what other people have to say and they give other people enough space to express their needs, their wants, and to share their vision and to share their faith and their belief. That is what good leaders do. And good leaders are also able to host a call without interrupting your co-host all the time. But that is not really what is happening on this call, because if you have to consistently interrupt your co-host, it gives a feeling that you don't trust them, that you don't trust that they can lead a call, that what they think or say is valid. And that just gives a bad impression to the people that listen to you. That is not what leaders do. Leaders give other people space and also allow them to finish a sentence.
No.
So first thing to create momentum is your vision. Second is faith, believing you can do it, believing in the product and believing in the company you're working for. The third thing that creates momentum is systems or habits. And basically people try to overcomplicate system. And basically what a system is how you accomplish your what.
Yeah,
that's what a system is how you're accomplishing your what.
Well, and to me, is what you do every day to get that result. A system is how you do it really well and duplicate it, in my eyes.
Basically, within Scentsy, and I wrote this down, you have to have a system around everything you do. How are you finding new customers? How are you finding new consultants?
So
how are you following
more about leadership?
How are you sampling?
Relate it more to leadership.
How from a leadership development? Like, what are you doing from a leadership development? So basically, how do you identify potential leaders? You know, if you only have a team of 2, leadership may look a little bit different for you.
But if you only have a team of 2, how are you? What is that? No, pause. If you only have a team of 2, if you're not doing calls with them,
that's what I was asking.
No, if you're not doing Zooms with them.
Shut up. I'm going to interrupt them now as well. This is ridiculous. This is actually the first thing that might be really helpful, where he mentions systems and habits. That is the first thing, or at the moment, the only thing that has been mentioned that can be helpful for you to create momentum in Scentsy, aka recruit more people and sell more product. That is the first actually interesting part. The two other points that were mentioned before, they're just mindset blah blah. They're very prominent in multi-level marketing, but they're not actually helpful if you want to further your business, if you want to actually sell products. And these two need to create a system and change their habits so that they're not interrupting each other anymore. How am I going to listen to a call and actually get information that is useful for doing a better job in Scentsy if I have to listen to this? This is great for comedic purposes, but it's really, really difficult to listen to grasp some actual information. Just imagine you sit on this call and then you have this buffoonery going on and you cannot even follow what those leaders are doing on this call because they're consistently interrupting each other and are being extremely rude. Also to you as a person on this call. It's not only the leaders that are on this call, but also people who are a part of the team. I mean, you've seen the slide before. There's a good amount of people on this call. This is such a waste of time, and that is so disrespectful to people who take time out of their day to join this team call, and also to the people who then watch the replay afterwards.
Zoom is free, okay? If you don't record it or have up to a certain amount of people. If you don't start then, how
Usually FaceTimes at that point.
I did free conference call.
Yeah.
I didn't care when I had one person. How are you going to believe that you can lead and lead calls and lead your people when you're not doing in-person team meetings, when you're not showing up and trying calls, when you're not starting that at an early period on? So those are the things. That's why, Justin, it's easy for people to think about habits for samples and this and that. But what we've got to start learning is habits on how to build leadership. Habits on how you can take what you did in your first year as a consultant and how do you really master teaching others to do the same. And then if they want to do what you do, teaching them how to get there.
Yeah, so a system around coaching, leadership development. And what I always say around leadership development too is you have to make sure you're developing yourself. So you need to make sure from a leader's perspective, leadership perspective, you're not getting comfortable in what you're doing. You're always evolving and you're wanting to develop yourself more.
And one thing I want to pause again that I saw a lot last week is that people just don't want to get on the phone with people. Okay. And that is the biggest misconception you can have with leadership, because you need to hear your people on the phone. If they want to grow, you need to be able to hear their goals. You need to be able to steer them to not get off track and talk about why they can't do stuff, but get them back on track to how to make a plan why they can. And so if that's you and you're like, I don't like to get on the phone, I don't like to do this, I don't like to do that. Well, that's a comfort zone that you're going to have to hop on over in order to develop leaders, because we got to get past talking about parties, PRV, and sponsoring. If you are a leader and you don't know how to do that, you've got to go out and learn how to do that. You've got to book parties. You got to have conversations. You got to do all the things that you guys have in front of you on YouTube to learn about, to get better at, so you can do these
and
things.
So you need to hear your people to develop leaders. In order for you to be able to hear your leaders, you also need to shut up occasionally and let other people talk.
How we create momentum is by your vision, by faith in that, by your faith, and that you can do it, that you believe in the product, the company, and you believe that you can do what that vision is that you're calling for, and by your systems or habits. And also within systems or habits, whenever you're looking at what you're doing to create this company, I always tell people this: build your systems now, what you feel like your business is going to look like in 5 years. Yep. So if your goal in 5 years, your 5-year plan is you want to have 20 frontline, all these leaders, whatever that goal is, start working like you have that business in 5 years. Have your short-term goals, where your business is at, being real with yourself, but always look to the future and what you want that to be. So whenever you do get there, it's not overwhelming and you're not creating.
Yeah, shut up. 5-year plan in Scentsy. How are people actually doing a 5-year plan in Scentsy? I would argue that most people that are on this team call are very likely not going to be a part of Scentsy or a part of this team in 5 years. because MLMs are pretty much like a revolving door. You have consistently people joining, but you also have people consistently leaving when they realize that this is not a system where they can actually make money, because it's a business model that is not sustainable. You need to consistently reach out to people to try to sell and to recruit. And only very few people are able to do so. Not because of a lack of trying, but because the business model is not set up to be a sustainable business model, but only for very few people to be able to make some money. Yeah, there's a helicopter coming, trying to save me out of this momentum leadership call. I don't know if you could hear that, but I need help. Thanks. I would like to point this out once again. Most people who are currently on this team will very likely not be a part of this team. It will very likely not be a part of Scentsy in 5 years.
And again, this is the problem, because people are like, I don't know how to lead, yet you're setting note. Like for me, every week, I also have leadership tasks I do every week. So we're doing a lot of like, let me party, let me have conversations. We're really good at setting those goals. But what we're going to challenge you guys to this semester is, what do your leadership goals look like? How many people are you working with, AKA coaching calls this week? How are you connecting with your team for them to get bought in and trust you and want to listen to you and want to be led by you?
And I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, we did the training in Salt Lake City. We did a leadership training on one of the most difficult thing to measure is the results of you being a leader when it comes to direct sales.
But
my best definition, and I shared it in that training, is frontline promotions.
And active frontline every month.
Active frontline and frontline promotion is a direct reflection of your leadership in regards to Scentsy.
If you're not growing your active frontline, I don't care how many frontline you have. If you're not growing active frontline every month and leaders, there's a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
If you only have high active frontline, but you're not growing leaders, there's an even bigger disconnect.
Yeah.
But you cannot grow leaders until you start growing that active frontline, because when you grow that active frontline, that shows one of two things. Number one, you're sponsoring and you're consistently sponsoring. And number two, you're training them and they're being led.
And
so they're showing up.
I think it's important.
How do you measure success as a leader in an MLM? It was hard to follow, so let me summarize this, and it's also not that hard. They always try to make this sound so much harder than it is, or so much easier than it is, however fitting it is for their agenda. But how do you measure success as a leader? Number one, how much money do you make? Number two, do you have a regular income? Number three, the amount of people that are on your team. Number four, the directors you have on your team that will grant you a certain rank yourself within the company. And also the people that you have lined up behind those directors to have more people at higher ranks in case some people will drop out of the company or they will lose their rank. Because that way you can sustain your rank even though you have directors or people on your team who might drop in rank. But then you have people lined up behind that so that you do not lose your rank. Oh, and then you also need to have some actual customers. It's icky, I know, but it's unfortunately a necessity also in Scentsy. So that is really how you can measure how you are successful in an MLM. You follow the compensation plan, plus you add something on top. You make sure you have enough people lined up, and you make sure that you have a big enough team so that the group volume, the downline volume, and the team volume can be achieved every single month. It is not that hard. It is hard to do, but it is not that hard to understand how to be successful as a leader.
It's important, like within this video, since we're talking about developing leadership habits, that's something that we'll plug in the notes from that training. I can go back and find.
Yeah, and we'll plug in these and we'll put them in the description on YouTube so y'all have them.
So yeah, and also one thing within systems or habits, you have to know when to change them.
Yes.
Because sometimes whenever you're with momentum, which is what we're getting to next, is how you lose them.
Yeah, speed up, because I want to be done soon.
So how to create momentum, your vision, your faith, the systems or your habits. Now, more importantly, how you lose momentum. And this is the 5 ways you can lose momentum. By doing what's known, by doing what's safe, by doing what's easy, what's comfortable, or doing nothing. So I think that is important, because basically you can tell yourself a lot that sometimes the mind will play tricks on your work. And I used to say this to a lot of people. In your mind, you're telling yourself you're doing these things, but in reality, you're not. And the numbers are not lying. So that's one huge way to kill momentum. There's always that time when you're sitting there and you're just killing it. Everything's working right. Everybody you're talking to, they want to do a party, you're selling everything. People are interested in joining. You're going and going. And then you hear that one no.
Or you just get really comfortable.
And you hear that one no, or you get comfortable.
I think it's hearing the no, because when people get spurts of doing well, you think like, I'm good. And that's the biggest lie you can tell yourself.
You have the momentum, keep building it. That's what that means.
Yeah.
And so that's how you lose momentum, is what's known, what's safe, what's easy, what's comfortable.
We're good.
Let me quote the Black Eyed Peas here. Shut up, just shut up, shut up, shut up, just shut up, shut up. I'm just going to stop this call whenever I want to and interrupt them, because they interrupt each other all the time as well. This is gaslighting 101. If you are losing momentum in your Scentsy business, if your business is stagnant, if you're losing people, if you're not able to sell enough product, then it is because of you, and because of you alone, and not because of a system that is set up for most people to fail financially, independently of what they do, independently if they hustle their booties off. It is a business model that is not designed to be sustainable, and it is a business model that is not designed for all people to get a guaranteed amount of money, no matter how much hard work they put into this. So this is gaslighting 101. This is a business model that is not designed for long-term success, because people have to be recruited and have to be stocked on top of each other, and you depend on those people to also do certain tasks if you want to hit a rank, if you want to keep a rank, and if you want to be considered a leader. It is not up to you to decide if those people will stay on your team, if they will work your business, especially not if you just recruit all your customers who just want access to the products but don't actually want to build a system, a business for themselves, who just want freaking products. So it is not in your power to keep momentum up. All you can do is reach out to as many people as possible, pretty much 24/7, in the hopes that someone will take the bait and become your customer or will join your team. And you also don't have control over people who joined Scentsy, but then they figure out, oh, okay, this is not making me a lot of money. This is not what I was promised. This is a very, very pricey hobby, and then they leave. There are a lot of points that you have no control over when you are in a multi-level marketing company, and therefore you can also not control momentum. Nothing.
Okay. Now, the most important thing, how you sustain it. So we've talked about how you create it, and then now we're talking about how you sustain it. The best way to sustain momentum is something called resilience. And we came up with a little acronym for it. I have this one acronym where it was the A times E equals R. It's like activity times effectiveness equals results. This is our momentum acronym or formula. It's action plus resilience equals sustained momentum.
So action plus resilience is sustained momentum. So if you want to be a good leader and you're on this call, but you're not doing coaching calls and you don't want to work with your team and you don't want to be coached, what are you doing?
So
that's one example of you're not doing the action. So even if you have resilience and you're so resilient, nobody can kick you down, like all the things. But if you're not doing the actions of being teachable, being coached, working with your team, sucking till you're good at it, not showing up for your team, you're never going to have sustained momentum. You know what you're going to be? A floppy leader. You're going to be like this. You're not going to be consistent in your leadership because you're not doing the right actions as a leader. So the resilience doesn't matter because you have to have both.
Action plus resilience does not guarantee momentum, though. You can show as much action as you want 24/7, try to sell products, try to recruit people, and not achieve a single thing. You can take consistent action and not be successful because of a business model that is set up for most people to fail. And you can be as resilient as you want to be. You can do this 24/7 for years and not hit the higher ranks. That doesn't guarantee momentum, and that also doesn't guarantee that you get momentum as a leader. That is simply not true. I would like for these two to show action and show resilience and allowing their co-host to actually finish a paragraph, a passage, or a sentence. Okay? Take a class, people. Take a class on how to actually present to a team. That is, okay. That is another way you could take action, by actually listening to your co-host. One of the reasons why I appreciate your feedback, and lots of people do not want to comment publicly, people who are involved in multi-level marketing companies or were, or who have friends in MLMs, and they don't want to leave any comments and they don't want to leave any feedback publicly. There are people that are reaching out and that are saying, I was in an MLM and I heard this all the time, and I'm really grateful that you cover these types of calls and give your 2 cents from somebody who is not a part of the company and who also validates the people that are or that were in the MLM that really tried everything their leaders asked them to do. It is good to sometimes hear feedback from people that are not on your team, that are not your leaders, that are not teammates of yours, that have an outsider's perspective and can validate the feelings and also the actions that most people in multi-level marketing companies take. But they will not financially succeed for various reasons, but not because of a lack of trying. And this gaslighting can be very, very damaging to people. So thank you to the people who reach out to me also privately and say, yeah, you know what, there is some truth to your commentary. Some people don't like me leaving critical comments about multi-level marketing companies, but it is so nice to see that this can also be validating for people who then realized, yeah, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's not this team. Maybe it's not this MLM. Maybe it is the business model that is set up against me. And I can do whatever I want, but in the end, I need to be lucky. Otherwise, I will not be able to make it to the top. A lot of these leaders got lucky because they joined at a good time. And they had to reach out to a lot of people. They had to do the do, yes. But timing is so essential. And that is something that these types of people like to leave out conveniently.
And so basically the definition of resilience, or the best way to describe resilience, it's not your knowledge, and it's not your skill, and it's not your desire, but how do you bounce back and thrive in the face of adversity? That's what resilience is. So leadership is difficult. I will say that. And I found this quote, and it's one of my most favorite quotes in regards to leadership. And it says, if leading people isn't simultaneously your greatest gift and your greatest burden, you're probably doing it wrong.
So true.
I heard that and it blew my mind, because I think as leaders, sometimes we feel like it's going very well, but then we also feel guilty when it's not going well. And so if leading people isn't simultaneously your greatest gift and your greatest burden, you're probably doing it wrong. So sustain momentum by always showing back up, do the calls, get the no's, and keep going. Don't stop. And I think that's important as a leader.
Is that all of them? Yeah.
That's all of it.
Yeah.
And you added some stuff too.
I know. I just made mine bigger.
Yeah, I also make mine bigger. Don't stop. Because then these 2 people would miss out on making money. Don't stop, not because it might be the best for you, but don't stop because if your efforts are not contributing to their team anymore, then they're losing out on money. That's the actual secret here.
So, yeah, so I was actually on the plane yesterday, and I think it's really important that we are constantly learning. So I found this really cool podcast I'm going to start listening to called the Negotiation Society podcast. And it's all of these like CEOs and COOs and culture developers of like, you know, Nike and Pepsi and Gap and all this stuff. And they share how they lead their teams. And I was like, this is so cool. I've never seen a podcast like that before. So I was reading a magazine about it, and I got some tips I want to share. So the acronym, you guys, I'll share it one more time, is action plus resilience equals sustained momentum. And sustained momentum is how leaders really thrive and how leaders are able to come and be consistent and do meetings and do coaching calls and build and recruit and sell and lead and stay in their lane. So here's some traits I want to share with you guys really quick on that I got from listening, or not listening, I was reading yesterday on the plane, some traits in every great leader. So these are all kinds of things from different like CEOs, cultural chief officers, product developers, etc.
Action plus resilience equals sustained momentum. That is not an acronym though. That is just a phrase. An acronym in this case would be ARSM, which is a great acronym. You have to actually present the short form where you take the first letters of a sentence for that to be an acronym. So yeah, action plus resilience is sustained momentum would be ARSM. It's funny. At least I find that funny. Yeah, that's ARSM, not the entire phrase. And the tips that she is looking into, that's great. I mean, yeah, take example from other people, but she is neither of these. She is neither a CEO, she's neither a president, a CFO, or a product developer. CEOs and CFOs who give those tips, they're based on a system where their employees all get a guaranteed salary, where they all get guaranteed pay. So these are tips for actual business professionals who get a guaranteed salary from people that are actually considered leaders because they need to have a certain knowledge and a certain track record and a certain success. Not unpaid Scentsy Huns who, for most part, will very likely lose money in their Scentsy business because they're not running their own business. But they only make money if they're able to sell a product and if they're able to recruit someone. So we're comparing apples and oranges yet again.
So the first one was focus. A lot of you guys are not focused. Y'all have been taught that you should be coaching. Y'all have been shown that you should be coaching your team. Coaching is working. You're working with your team, leading your team, recognizing them, sending out emails, all like helping them get to the next level. You're not focused. And you're probably also not focused in your personal business either. So start there and start there because you got to start somewhere, but start focusing with your team. Another one is a keen work ethic. They said that, great leaders, they know exactly what they're doing. Their business is telling them what to do. So time blocking is something y'all are going to hear from me a lot. And we talked about it on our work and Zoom the other week because my stepmom started it. Like, you really need to have your business tell you what to do or you'll get overwhelmed. A willingness to try, but also fail. You have to know you're going to fail and you have to let it kick you in the butt. You have to know that we are all failing every day. We're failing with our words. We're failing with the way we're coaching. We're failing with how we recruited that person and how we launched their business because we just didn't want to do a home party for them and we should have. We're all going through that. They're only as good as the teams around them. Anchored Sense would not be Anchored Sense without y'all. Period. Like at SFR, at these events that we do, I'm going to be doing like field trips this semester with you guys and like sample nights. Anchored Sense wouldn't be Anchored Sense without y'all, and your teams wouldn't be your teams without you. We roll up our sleeves and lead by example. So we roll up our sleeves like we're the ones, like I will take a kick to the face by every freaking person in Scentsy just to be able to lead y'all better. Literally, I don't care. Like, I don't care what it takes for me to help you guys do it better and the best. I will be the one that takes the hit. And Justin knows that. Like, I literally do not care. Like, and that's how you have to start getting with your teams. Like, I'm going to be the fearless one. I'm going to quit my job first, right? I'm going to be the one to dive in and do a ton of home parties again because we need it. I'm going to be the one to do a last chance first glance. I'm going to be the one to do field trips and to do all these scary things.
Maybe also be the one who takes a class on how to lead a team call while not interrupting your co-host all the time. I have an important acronym for you, and that is SUAL. S-U-A-L. Shut up and listen. And also, just a side note, I feel like I'm a character out of the sitcom Will and Grace. I'm not going crazy, but there are fruit flies here. Something is flying around in this room. I don't know if you know the episode from Will and Grace where Grace is always running through the apartment because there are flies around her because there's something rotting in the apartment. That is me right now. I swear I'm not going Nutcracker City over here. There's a fly. I swear there was a fly. All right, let's continue. Let's finish this. We're almost through. Let's hope they don't interrupt each other many more times.
Another one is they enjoy inventing. They enjoy inventing new and impactful ways to accomplish tasks.
Habits.
That's a big one. So great leaders are constantly not reinventing the wheel, but looking at our own wheel. And if that wheel is not moving, we're finding new ways that's going to push our momentum to get there.
Or stealing away and making it better.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I think a lot
great
of great
artists still.
I think they do, but I feel like being original and authentic in Scentsy, you can get there with all the tools you have from Scentsy and make it your own. And I do think that's important. They encourage debate and view disagreement as healthy. Okay. Disagreement is healthy. Going through difficult leaders, going through difficult team members, it is healthy and it leads to the best solutions. And we went through that at our leadership retreat firsthand in front of a whole group of people. And it ended up being great by the end of the week. They listen and absorb information before forming perspective. So they're absorbing the feedback on things like this call that you know you need to change, that you know you need to start, and that you know you need to do. And great leaders take it before thinking of a perspective of like, I could never do this. They take those tools and they're like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try that for 90 days. They proactively seek feedback on themselves, their team, and their organization. That's important.
I have feedback for you. Don't always interrupt your co-host. Give people space to talk and don't belittle your team.
That's important. They trust. Trust is about authenticity and honesty. If they don't trust you, they're not going to want to be coached by you. If you're not showing up and you're not doing monthly team meetings, hangouts, connection points, you're not reaching out to them consistently so they can see you're pulling reports and you know what their sales are, and you're not sending emails, all these things vary off your team size. They're going to change as you grow. But if they don't see that you're constantly doing meetings, that you're showing up, that you're here to work with them, they're not going to care to listen, to tell you what their goals are or how or what they want to accomplish. Great leaders nurture and support others in pursuit of one common goal. The common goal of these leadership calls is to help you guys be great leaders. The common goal of you doing coaching calls with your team is to help them get where they want to go. And last but not least, they serve to lead and they have clarity on a mission. Clarity goes hand in hand with focus. If you don't have clarity, if you're not focused, you need to get there. You need to time block. You need to let your business tell you what to do. You need to sponsor. You need to lead well. You need to know how you're leading and how you're launching the people you're sponsoring. So that is all that me and Justin have tonight. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to stop the recording.
The common goal is to make the leaders more money, not just everybody who's on this team call. The common goal is not to make you more money, but to make the people at the top more money, while gaslighting the people who are making the leaders money to believe that they need to continue. And if they're not successful at the moment, it's because of them, because they didn't listen, they didn't pay attention, they didn't ask for feedback, they did not get in touch with their customers and with their team regularly, and they're simply not doing the tasks their leaders are telling them on these absolutely valuable team calls, where we interrupt each other all the time and where we gaslight our teams. Yikes. I have to say kudos to you if you are in an MLM or if you were in an MLM and you can unironically sit through team calls like this. This was about 30 minutes long. It felt a lot longer, and it is really hard to follow. Why do people allow other people so much power over them when they have nothing to contribute? Because they were able to recruit enough warm bodies to be successful in an MLM. There was hardly anything of worth or of value in there. To compare actual business tips from CEOs, CFOs, and product developers to a group of mostly unpaid Scentsy Huns is not very helpful, and to yell at your co-host all the time because you need to speak now is also not really helpful. And gaslighting people into believing that if you're not successful in an MLM, it is because of you, I think is one of the most important tools that you have to have in a multi-level marketing company, and that is to emotionally manipulate the people on your team so that they actually start to think it is their fault and it is not your fault, or the leader's fault, or the company's fault, or the system's fault. No, it has to be your fault, because that way you will try harder, you will stay in the company, and you will blame yourself for not being successful while making other people more money. I'm going to listen to a lot of songs now, hopefully to get shut up, just shut up, shut up, shut up, just shut up, shut up, ooh, out of my head, because otherwise I will go crazy. And I haven't seen The Fly, but it was there. I promise. I really promise. What did you think of this team call? I find it funny to watch these, but they're also sometimes really, really draining, because how does one unironically listen to team leaders like this? I know I'm comparing this a lot to my actual reputable job where I get a factual salary and not weird acronyms thrown at me that are not acronyms, but I would be logging off calls like this. If they're a waste of time, if they're nonsense, I'm not listening to them. There has to be a certain worth, there has to be a certain value to calls, team calls or training calls. And if there is no value, I would click off. I don't know about you, but that's how I would do this, even if I were running my own business. If you have any feedback, or if you have any content or any training calls or team calls you would like to share with me, you can upload that to your Google Drive and then share the content with my email address. Everything is linked down below. It is cdbeautyhunter@yahoo.de. You can also DM me on Instagram if you want to share stories or your experience, or if you want to share content with me, you can do that as well. I really appreciate your support. It is amazing to see how this channel has grown within a year of me being on YouTube, and I really, really appreciate every single person who likes these videos, who's engaging in the comment section, who reaches out to me, and who has feedback. So thank you so much for your support. If you do like this video, then please consider subscribing. If you like this specific one, then please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to let me know something, then please feel free to do so in the comment section down below. And if you like these types of videos, then hopefully I will see you in my next one. Until then, cheers!